Good morning, my magnificent ones. Sue Paulson here, your magnificence mentor, and we're back with another episode of Tea with Sue. I have a question for you this morning. Have you ever felt like a slug when you got up on any given day? You know, those days where it's hard to get your eyes open and hard to get out of bed, and really all you want to do is just pull the covers back over and let the day go on by itself. Well, I'm having kind of a morning like that, where I couldn't turn my brain off last night, so it took a while for me to get to sleep. And then I went into this deep sleep, and when it was time to wake up, I'm kind of a little bleary-eyed and not moving too fast. So you know, I'm surrounded by butterflies because their butterflies are my passion. And but of course, before a butterfly can become a butterfly, it's a caterpillar. So caterpillars are certainly like slugs. They move very slowly. And I'm imagining at this time of year, they've leading up to cocooning for the winter, that they're just slowly gorging themselves on the leaf that they're positioned on, and then make their way to a little twig slowly, and begin to wrap themselves away from the world until they have this nice, cozy little, I'm safe, I'm secure, nobody's going to bug me because I'm wrapped up. Well, that's kind of how my morning's gone, that I sit for a minute and I think about, what am I going to do next? Oh. And then I kind of zone out because I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do yet. There's no desire rising for anything. There's no passion there. There's just to sit. Then, of course, I remember, oh, it's Friday. It's Tea with Sue. Oh, well, do I have anything to say today? What am I going to talk about? And my brain starts to slowly get into gear. And I thought, well, Sue, you're all about being raw, real, and vulnerable. So this is you today, kind of sluggish, kind of slowly going through your day. So why am I feeling so sluggish today? Well, yesterday, my publisher and I spent, at least 8 hours working on uploading the electronic version of a book that I wrote in when did it come out? Oh yeah, 2015. Time has just flitted by. So 7 years ago, I wrote a book, and this was the book that I published, called Magnificent Misery: From Adversity to Ecstasy. Now it's a memoir, and it's the journey that I went through starting in 2007 when I had my near-death experience. So it documents that, and then I share the story of the cancer adventure that I went through after that. So this was a book that was 3 years in the writing and the production. It when I figured out it was going to be a book. Now, prior to that, I had started journaling after my near-death experience. I had started journaling in 2007. So really, it was an 8-year time frame from the time I started writing down my feelings about what I was going through and so on. So when the book came out in 2015, it was possible to have an electronic version, but quite frankly, the technology baffled me. And when I tried to upload it, all of the it was all wonky and it looked horrible on a device, a tablet or a phone or whatever. So I gave up. I thought, you know what? I don't have the jam or the knowledge to do this properly. And I was steeped in marketing the book because, of course, if you're going to put a book out, well, you want it to sell. And so, I mean, that's what most authors want, is to sell a bunch of copies, and, you know, the visions of, oh, I'm going to have royalties pouring in the door enter your brain. True or not? Yeah, I've had a few checks, but anyway, that's another story. So I let it go. And because I feel, or have felt since then, to compelled to write the next book, and The Healing Call of Cancer, and it's going to be coming out, because it's almost like a series, then it seemed important to get the ebook version out and to launch a bestseller campaign and see where we could go with that, have a wider distribution in the world. The book's available right now on Amazon in its original paperback version, but we wanted the digital version to come out, the electronic version. So that's what I've been working on for the last several months. And it's been an interesting journey, because I thought, well, let's revisit this manuscript, because it's been 7 years. Is it as strong as I wanted it to be? Is it as good? Do I need to add more? And so I did. I played with not the story itself so much, but tightened up some of the writing. I changed the tense from past tense to present tense. And then I added some pieces at the back, because I thought, well, because this all happened long enough ago, maybe my readers would appreciate knowing where I am now, what's happened since all of that happened. So I added that. And then, of course, I put in a little excerpt from my next book, The Healing Call of Cancer, for those who feel that might be a beneficial read for them. So it's all this process, right? So the writer's life is complex, and especially if you want to be a published writer, especially if you're looking to have that author status at the end of your name. It's not simple. And it's no wonder that lots of people stop partway and say, I'm not going to bother with that anymore. I thought I could write a book. And of course you can. Anyone can. If the definition of a writer is someone who writes. And so it can be there, and it is a process. It's a huge learning curve from beginning to end. It's easier these days in some ways and harder in others, because when I wrote my first book, my little tips and tools for student success, then if you were going to publish it yourself, then there was this process that you went through to find a printer and work out the costs, and there was this whole mechanism that had to come into play. So I went that route, and I'm astonished at how things have changed in the industry since then. It's been quite remarkable what advances they've made, what strides they've made. And I have to say that I never thought I would become an electronic book reader, that I would have a Kobo or a Kindle or read a book on my phone, because I love turning pages. I love the feel of a book. I love the smell of a book, the weight of a book in my hand or my lap. And so I was pretty resistant at first. But then when I began to recognize the benefits of the e-version, it made sense to me. And so here I am taking another stab at this. So yesterday was this grueling time of uploading the manuscript, reviewing how it looked on the publishing platform, finding errors and glitches, documenting those, going back to the manuscript to fix that, and then uploading it again. I don't have a lot of citability normally. So this was difficult. And thank goodness my publisher, Diane Bell from Legacy Lane Publishing, she just stuck by me, and we were on Zoom. She's sharing her screen so I can see what she's doing, and we work diligently together. Ooh. So the writing life can be an interesting one. So last week, I talked a little bit about turning points, that the turning points in our lives can move us in different directions, can open up pathways that we never had before. And so I wanted to speak a little bit about the writing life to encourage you to think about writing as a way to explore what's going on with you in the world, to explore what's going on in the world, what you think about it, how you experience it, what it means to you, because that's where so much growth can come. There's something about, putting pen to paper that now I'm old school. I learned cursive writing. That was a huge, important piece of education in school, that you learned how to not only write, but write well and write as beautifully as you possibly could. And I'm so upset that they're not teaching cursive writing in schools anymore. At least they're not here in Canada. And to me, that's such a loss for our own individual psyches. And let's face it, if I had to print everything, I would never have written a book, because writing is so much easier for me. And obviously, I mean, I think they thought, well, we have computers now, so nobody has to write. And nobody writes checks anymore, so they don't even have to know how to sign their name. Excuse me, signing your own name, learning to make the moves to sign your own name, that's an integral part of you. There's a huge connection between your arm and your brain and your soul. And I just, people who don't know how to express themselves by writing pen to paper. Now, I graduated to a remarkable. So here's my electronic pad of paper. And as I get more proficient using it, I'm enjoying the fact that I don't have mounds of paper in my office anymore like I used to. and the filing system is a lot simpler, but I still write. And so I make the motions and I print. And so I'm mad that they're not learning cursive writing, that it's, I think in some schools, it's sort of an elective where you can take an elective class in high school or junior high school that shows you how to do cursive writing. But I started learning in grade 3, and it's a huge part of me. So I'm sad that that's not happening for people anymore. So if you're a parent of a child who is not learning cursive writing in school, and you feel it's important, make a game of it at home and at least get your child learning how to write their own name, how to sign their name to a document, because I think that there's such a connection there. Anyway, that's my little rant for today. I didn't know I was going to rant about that, but it just bugs me to even think about it, and the loss that there is in that. For the same reason, they took music classes out of most schools, because they thought, well, there's no real relevance to learning, and so it's non-essential, and so we're not teaching that anymore. Oh boy, then they discovered that there was a huge connection between music and math. Oh, Oh, well, maybe we better put the program back into the schools. Hello. So, okay, so I'm going to finish. That's it. That's my rant about what schools are doing in pulling out these, what I consider to be essential programs, the arts programs that feed our souls and help us appreciate the music of the world when we're not in school. So, yeah. All right. Let me get back on track here. So, well, that got me fired up a little bit. I don't feel quite so sluggish now. All right. So, writing. Why do I want to inspire you to write? Well, one of the reasons is because life can be pretty complex, especially these days. And figuring things out, especially the impact that events, circumstances, other people have on our lives, can be hard to sort through if we just allow it to run in our brains. Because I don't know about you, but my brain kind of runs amok sometimes, and I never quite know how I'm feeling or thinking about something. So if it's really baffling me, if it's really puzzling me, I turn to pen and paper and get it out. So out of my brain, onto the page. That helps me have a better objective look at it. They've talked for a while about having the silent observer. So it's as if there's a little piece of you on the outside of you looking down to see what you're doing, how you're reacting to things, what your response is to someone, and so on. And this observer is an impartial observer. It's just, oh, that's what's going on. So it's not really, it might turn to judgment, but mostly it's just watching. And the writing of it enables the observer to put down all of the things that are there so that you can examine it, so you can look back at it. Now, sometimes I just do kind of a dump onto the page because something's really bothering me. I just have to get it out. One of my buddies, Dan King, calls it a soul puke. And if something is really boiling and roiling in you, that you just onto the page. Well, anytime I do that, I feel much better. It really helps me get some space in my brain is really what it does. And I think that's what is helpful, because we're barraged by so many sensory things in our world right now. And there's so much going on that literally we run out of capacity. We run out of space to take in any more. So especially if we dump the stuff onto the page that's really bothering us, then there's room for logic and reason and exploration to come in, so that we can have a good think about it, so that we can really, the whole thing of critical thinking, where you do a thorough job of looking at, well, what's good about that? What's not good about that? What do I like about that? What don't I like about that? Is there anything wrong with that? Is there anything right with that? So we look at it from more of a 360-degree perspective than if we just had it rattling around in our brain and I can't sleep because I'm still embroiled in that idea, or I'm obsessed about that particular happening, or whatever. So it gives us a release and a relief from all of that turmoil that goes on. So writing for me is a huge release, and I use it fairly often. I'm not a daily journaler necessarily. Sometimes I'll go for several days in a row where I write something down, or I have a little writing project that I'm directed to write something every day, even just for 5 minutes. But that's not really my thing, my style. So I write because I have an idea, or I'm trying to work something out. And so that's my personal writing. And then of course, because I'm a communications person, because I share through video and through articles that I write and so on, then I write about ideas and what I see about the world and what I understand about what's going on, and all those kinds of bits of sharing. So it doesn't matter what it is for you, but I think the act of giving yourself permission to write. Now, I have more people than I can count who say to me, "Oh, I'm not a writer. I couldn't write." Well, we can say that about anything. "Oh, I'm not a baseball player. I never could play baseball." But you start somewhere, and maybe you take some lessons or take a class, or somebody shows you or whatever, and you make a start. And so this is what I'm doing right now with painting. Is I never imagined myself as an artist who put paint to canvas, or I never felt I could draw anything more than a stick figure. But because it's bringing me some joy to move into that arena, then I'm learning, and I'm taking great joy in some of the pieces that I've produced. Some I go, "Oh, okay, that was kind of an experiment. That didn't turn out as well as I'd like. Oh, I don't," and that's because I don't know this, and this. So, but I've taken lessons, and I've watched some incredible artists do their work, and I'm just in awe. The very fact that I'm in this process as well. Do I aspire to be as grand as a lot of these artists that I see? Not really. For me, it's more the self-expression. This is another way that I can express who I am. And then when I look at what I've created, I pin it up on the wall, or I think it's good enough to frame, then I look at what I've done, and I resonate with it. Like it fills my soul in some way, just as writing fills my soul in another way. So I'm all about this whole, where's that wellspring of joy? Where's that wellspring of contentment inside yourself? Well, it is all there in you, and it's a matter of letting it out so that you can express enough of it that you take joy in it, you take pleasure in it. You say, "Oh, I did that. I never thought I could do that." But it just warms my heart to think that I achieved that I never thought that was possible. And there it is. Some people do it in the kitchen, they're bakers or decorators, and they create these wonderful things. My grandmother, my Grammy Ed, who was always scribbling on bits of paper, she always used up everything, old envelopes and so on. And when I went through her things after she transitioned, then I found all of these old envelopes, and there's this writing on there, and she'd turn the page and there'd be little bits of poem on there, and I'm going, whoa. And so I have a few of her writings, and as part of that, she never considered herself much of an artist, but when she made a pie that had a top on it, a crust on the top of the pie, she would decorate the top so pretty. And I'm going, whoa, she told me she didn't have any artistic talent. And I'm thinking, well, that looks pretty artistic to me. In fact, it looks too good to eat. We ate it anyway. So there's so many ways of expressing ourselves in the world that can bring us that inner contentment. It can bring us a way of turning off the busyness and sometimes the discontent of the world, and allow us to just focus on us, focus on time that we spend coloring or writing silly words, or just being absorbed in an activity that takes us away from everything. So this week, I want to encourage you, especially as with the onset of winter. I know on other parts of the planet it's summer and you want to be out and doing, but here in Canada, as winter sets in, we got our first snowfall this week, and it's chilly, and the roads aren't good, and I feel more like staying home. Well, what am I going to do with my time that's going to bring me some my little piece of heaven on earth? What is that going to be? And for me, I know part of that is writing, and part of that is creating something that brings a little smile to my face and say, oh, I did that, yay. So that's what I want to encourage you this week. If you're in that mode where you feel as if you're kind of gearing down and things are a bit sluggish, then cheer yourself up. Allow that slower movement through your life, because we need the seasons to just gear down a little bit, go a little more inward, and really embrace who you are in that slower version, where you don't feel that you have to be on all the time, or go-getter and doing everything. You're just, where's my cup of tea? Or my hot chocolate, or some spicy, Christmassy kind of drink, cranberry spice or something like that. All right, my magnificent ones, that's it for this week. I'm going to encourage you. So the electronic book is launching November 9th, 2022. And I'm embarking on the bestseller campaign. So there is going to be a special price. The ebook is going to be only 99 cents US. So if you're intrigued about Magnificent Misery, From Adversity to Ecstasy, you haven't read it and you're intrigued about it, it will probably, it might make you laugh, it might make you cry, it might make you squirm, but it'll do something. So I invite you to join with me on November 9th to purchase an e-copy of this book. Shortly after that, it's going to be labeled the second edition, and shortly after that, we'll put the second edition up in paperback as well. But that's it for today. Have a glorious week, and we'll look forward to the next Tea with Sue. Bye for now.